coming on to the first slide. So what is the meaning of an interview? So basically, guys, the word interviews come from a Latin and a Middle French word, and it means to see between or to see each other. Okay. So the basically, as you know, view means to see, right? So basically, the word interview comes from there only. Like interview is basically an interaction between two people or a panel and between an interviewee, right? So it is basically a discussion between two parties where they can see each other. Okay. So what is an interview? Interview is that it is a meeting with an objective. So the employer's objective is to find the best person for the job, and the employee, like you are the employee, and the person who is taking the interview is the employer. Okay. And the motive of the employee, like you, is to take a job, is to grab a job. Okay. So employer, what will he do? He will go through your experience, your abilities, and he will understand from your resume and from the interaction he has with you that are you the suitable person for a job? How will you fit into the organization? Whether your personality is suitable for the organization? Will you do the job? Like, do you have the motivation, or how is your attitude? Basically, more than the qualification and the skills that you have, what an employer judges in an interview is that what is your attitude, or what is your what is your drive. Like, for example, if an interviewer or an employer is looking for a teacher, okay, for a teacher for 7th and 8th class standard students. Okay. So basically, there can be a candidate who has not ever taught 7th and 8th class candidates, but he has taught 5th 6th class candidates and also other class candidates. So the interviewer will judge whether he or she has the skills that he or she can take those particular classes. Like, is he or she driven enough? Like, what is their attitude? Is their attitude like they can learn, like they can themselves learn and motivate themselves to teach other classes as well? So basically, the motive of the employer is to judge your skills, interest, and attitude. They will also judge your skills, but also apart from that, they will also be majorly focused about what is your interest in the job and what is your attitude in general in life. Okay. So that is what an interview process is basically about. So what is an objective of an interview? In the selection process, interview serves the following objectives. Okay, there are basically 4 objectives. He or she verifies the information obtained through application form and test. So basically, before an interview begins, okay, so so sometimes some organizations, they ask you to fill up a form, right? They fill up a form and you have to upload the form, or you have to submit the written form, something like that. So it and some organizations also send you test link. You have to first to give the test, and then your interview is scheduled for the other rounds. So basically, the objective of this round is to verify the information provided. Okay. उसके बाद the other objective of interview is helps obtain additional information from the applicant otherwise not available. So basically, when you fill a form, you fill a specific amount of information, like what is your name, what is your parents' name, address details, your educational qualification, your previous organization qualifications, your skills, like what is your interest and something like that. These things you fill up in the form, right? But there are many other traits about an applicant which are not visible in the form, like your attitude, your nature, and how you tackle some urgent situations. So all of these things, that is the objective of an interviewer, that he will verify you on these skills. Okay. The other third objective of interview is gives the candidate necessary facts and information about the job. So it is just not that the employer has to obtain additional information about you. Even you, the candidate, needs some facts and information about the job. So in an interview is actually a two-way process. Okay. So even the candidate can ask a number of questions about the organization, like what is your job profile, how many hours you have to work in a day, and what will be the salary and stuff like that. You can also ask any number of questions in an interview. Fourth point, it helps establish mutual understanding between the company and the candidate and build the company's image. So if the interview process is followed in right manner, so it will help establish mutual understanding between the company and the candidate. Okay.
Okay.
So coming on to the next part, know yourself. Okay. So, guys, before you plan to go to an interview somewhere, or even if you virtually are planning to give an interview, because right now in COVID situation, many organizations since 2 years are following the virtual process only, like online you give the interview. So even if you give it online, or even if you give it offline, like going to the place, there are some points you should know about yourself. Okay, so first keep clarity on those points. If you are clear on certain points, no, then it becomes easy for you in the interview. Like you will not be confused there, or you will not start stammering or something, right? So these are basic points which everyone should be aware of. So what is the employment objective and how it relates to position and the employer? Okay, so you should be clear, very much crystal clear about what is the job for which you are giving the interview, right? And what is the organization for which you are giving interview. If for example I am giving interview for an organization X, and I don't know like what that organization works for, what is the motto of that organization, when it was founded. So if the employer puts forward those questions to me, then I will be in a mess. Okay, so you should be totally clear about what is the organization, what is their objectives, what is the basic work they do, when was the organization founded, who is the CEO or who is the founder of the organization. Okay, so these basic points you should be very much clear about. Secondly, educational background and how it relates to the position and the employer. Okay, so you should be very truthful and very clear about your educational background. Sometimes what happens is like sometimes we get some gap in our education. Okay, which is referred to as education gaps. And sometimes some people, due to their financial situation, sometimes due to their any home situation or some disease or something, they take some 1 or 2 years voluntary gap in their education, right? So if you have taken such gaps or something, so you should be very much crystal clear about it. You should not hide anything from the interviewer, because anyway at later points of time, even if you get the job, then document verification process takes place and background verification also. So then anyway they will come to know about the information, and then that will not be a good situation. Okay, so you should be aware of your educational background, and you should be able to explain your educational background, work experience. So if you have worked, if it is your first organization for which you're giving interview, then it's different. But if you have worked somewhere, so you should be readily available with your work experience. Okay, like they will surely ask what was the work, what was your profile, what, like in that organization, what were you basically doing. Okay, so you should be aware of entire everything what you were doing in your previous organization. So abilities and skills. Apart from that, questions can be put up on your abilities. Like for example, they can give you a situation, a circumstance, right? Like this type of situation has happened in the company, so in this situation what will you do? So these questions are basically circumstantial questions, or these are the questions which judge your abilities and skills. Okay, so all of these situations require you to give examples. See, when we're taking interview of someone, no, if someone is giving that crammed answers, no, like some people write the answers 5 to 6 lines and they learn the answers and then they speak like a robot. Okay, so that is not what is appreciated in an interview. Always try to give more and more examples. If for example, if someone asks you what are your strengths in the interview, okay, so you should be able to tell about your strengths, and you should also give examples. Like if in your life or in your education or in your previous organization, how did you bring forward your strength? So always be able to give examples. Okay, guys. So next presentation is about knowing the employer. Okay, so guys, before having set up an interview anywhere or going for an interview anywhere, first know the employer, do research and lots of research. Okay, so it feels very good to the employer if you somehow in the interview portray the fact that you have very much knowledge about the company. Okay, for example, while the employer can ask you, like if you have some questions, okay, so then you can easily flaunt the fact that I know about this and this about your organization, so I want to know more clarity about this particular feature of your application, or whatever the what for whatever team you are giving the interview. Okay, so in these manners you can demonstrate that you have done research, that the employer will find that it is very good. Because he will come to know that you are very much interested in the job and you are an intelligent person, and that is why you are doing your research. Okay, prepare to give reasons for your interest in working in that professional company. So very much important question that many employers ask is that why do you want to join our organization? Okay, so you should come up with some solid reasons, not some vague reasons like I want a job, I want to earn this much, or I looked at your in organization on internet and I found it very interesting, the job very interesting. Do not come up with such vague answers. So for this purpose only, we have to do our research and for our preparation beforehand in advance. There are some specific questions I will take you through in the next slides, which you should have ready somewhere. Okay, so those questions are common for every interview. Okay, so even if not all of those questions someone will ask, one or two or other questions someone will ask. Okay, so you should keep before you are beginning the interview. It is not that your first interview will be cleared. Okay, so it may be possible that you have to give 2 interviews to land a job. It may be possible that you have to give 20 interviews to land a job. Okay, so you should keep those questions prepared in advance, so you can use the answers anywhere. If you have once prepared the question, no, then in your entire life you can use the same answers. Okay, so the fourth is develop questions in advance to ask about the job or organization. So as I already told you, that if you demonstrate your interest in the organization, the employer will feel good. So sometimes employers do ask that, do you have some specific questions for us? So then you can prepare 1 or 2 questions in advance about the organization, and then you can ask them. So they will also feel good about it. Okay. Interview preparation. So there is situational knowledge, mental preparation, physical preparation, and written preparation. There are 4 aspects of an interview preparation. Okay, so coming on to the situational knowledge. So basically, it is about where the interview is taking place. Okay, so you should be present at the interview location around 10 minutes early, so that you are not in a state of hurry or haze. Okay, mental preparation, that you should be aware of the knowledge of the company. You should have some mock interviews. Mock interviews are like the practice interviews which you conduct before the actual interview. Okay, so you should have attended some mock interviews online or with some of your friend, and you should have some knowledge of a company. Physical preparation involves getting plenty of rest and dressing for success. Okay, so before the day of the interview or before the day of any important exam, make it a point to get plenty of rest. Okay, and coming on to the dress for success, I will also take you in the next slides on how you should dress up for an interview. Okay, so coming on to the written preparation, take extra resumes, references, make notes, ask questions. Okay, so if you're taking we must always take a resume for interview, so you can take some extra resumes also, so that even if one gets lost or something, so you are not in a mess. Make some notes and ask questions during the interview. Make it a point that you can also make some notes and you can also ask any amount of questions. Okay, so basically, there are 4 types of interviews. Okay, so there is one basic or traditional interview, like one-on-one interview, which generally takes place. Then there is a telephonic interview. So right now, since the time is totally virtual, so telephonic interviews or online interviews like on Skype or Google Meets are very much common. And the third is a group interview. In a group interview, it is not that one person is taking an interview. There is actually a panel. Like there can be 4 or 5 people, there can be 2 people, there can be even 7, 8 people who are taking your interview. Okay. Then interview during a meal or a social occasion. So sometimes what happens is like instead of a one-on-one interview or a group interview, they conduct an informal sort of interview. So they meet you in a cafe or in a very informal type of setting. Okay, not in an office or something. So during a meal or a social occasion, the interview can be conducted. Okay, so these are basic types of interviews. So the questions and what they ask, that majorly remains the same in every interview. However, the type of interview is. Okay. So coming on to the 5 stages of the interview process. So guys, the first stage is the icebreaker. So the icebreaker is when you come in the interview room and you do salutation or greeting like good morning, good afternoon, and you introduce a little bit about yourself. They can ask you about 1 or 2 liners, how was your day and everything. So that is a sort of icebreaker. Okay. Now coming on to the second, personal qualification and interest in position. Okay. So here the interview, when little bit of interview goes forward, So they can ask you about the abilities, skills, work experience, what have you accomplished, what are the activities you have done, what are your goals, like even in organization and even in personal life, what are your goals, okay? And then when we come up to the third stage of the interview, when the interview gets a little bit further, so the employer may test your knowledge of the company, okay? So the questions I just told you, like why do you want to work in this company? What do you know about this department? So basically they grill you about, like if you do have some knowledge about the organization and also about the role for which you are giving the interview, okay? And other general questions they can ask, like what is your geographic preference, are you willing to relocate? So guys, sometimes what happens, no, an organization can have center, a company can have center in many cities, many districts, okay? So basically many states. So basically they ask if you are willing to relocate or something, because sometimes the interview process is, let us say, taking place in Kolkata, but the requirement to join will be in Bangalore, okay? So then they put forward these questions. So in these situations, what is the ideal answer is that if there is not any very strong reason for you not to relocate, you can always say yes, that are you willing to relocate, so that at least you land up the job. And then on the basis of job, even if you don't want to relocate to that location, you can look for some other jobs on the basis of that jobs, okay? So you can try to give a positive answer to this. So the other candidate questions is, this candidate from when it comes to candidate question, it is a question that you will ask the interviewer, okay? So you can ask some questions like what type of job training that they will provide, and you can ask about them from for their company, like how is it different from other competitors. So these are some specific cliched questions that you can ask, okay? So the last step of the interview process is closing and follow up. So the person who is taking your interview, he will be telling you like, the interview process is now done, and then you can leave for the day or something like that. So then what you have to do is you have to thank the interviewer for their time, and then you will, when you come back to your place, you can evaluate your performance. Like for a, see, what happens is the day we give the interview, everything will be very, fresh in our mind. So even if the interview doesn't wasn't good, so you can put like in your notes or in your some mail or something, no, where wherever you store your notes, you can you can add those points, okay? What are the questions they asked? You can note those points. What were your weak points in that interview? You can note everything, so that once you go to the second interview, no, so you can go through those notes and then you can prepare accordingly, okay? And then you can also send a thank you note within 24 hours sometimes when you come back from an interview. So you can thank the interviewee by sending him or her a mail. So you can or a message, so you can send a thank you note within the first 24 hours of having an interview. So now coming on to the STAR technique. So what is the STAR technique? STAR is just an acronym so that you can learn. You can it stays in your mind. Okay. So STAR, basically STAR. Every word has every alphabet has a meaning. Okay. So by STAR we means situation. So basically STAR describes the situation. S describes the situation, problem or issue that you encountered. So basically they can give you a situational question, like how will you act in this particular situation, if this type of situation is coming in your organization. S describes the situation, T describes the task or responsibilities you took on to help solve the problem, A discuss the steps you actually took to effect a solution, and R describes the positive results of your action. So whenever a problem will be given to you, or for example, if even if you're highlighting your strengths or something, so you can always keep this STAR technique in your mind. This is a ninja technique, okay? So basically, by this STAR acronym, you should learn the situation, task, action, and result. These are the four main points that are applicable anywhere, whatever the situation are, that the interviewer can ask, okay? So you can keep these 4 points in your mind. Coming on to some tips for successful interviewing guys. So interviewing is a two-way process, okay? As I already told you, that interviewing it is not that only the interviewer is taking your interview, okay? You can also ask questions. It's a two-way process. It should be an interactive process, okay? Just like this presentation we are having right now. I told you in the beginning of the presentation, right, that it should be interactive one. I don't want that you people sit silent, or you people don't ask questions, or you people don't stop me. Okay, so it should be interactive. If it is interactive, I will also feel that you people are taking interest, you people are learning something, and even the interviewer will feel that this person is very intelligent, like he's asking questions and he's interested in the job. Okay, so coming to the second point, never give yes or no answer. So if an interviewer asking something, no, even if it is a simple thing, never give simple yes or no as an answer. That is very rude. For example, if an interviewer asks that have you worked before in a service based company, so even if you have not worked, you can politely say no, I haven't worked ever in a service based company, I was working in other companies. So this way you can put up your answer in one or two liner. Okay, so listen carefully and react. Use specific examples to make your case. The interview begins the minute you step onto the company lot, and be positive. Okay, so example thing I already told you, like whatever questions they ask, whatever circumstances they give, use specific examples. Okay, the more examples you give, the more interest the interviewer will have in you. Okay, and be positive. Never, even if you are answering some questions in the interview, no, and some questions regarding your previous employer have been asked or something, even if your experience was not good in previous company, never say bad about your organization. Okay, or never give negative reviews, always be positive. Okay, this is one tip that you should be taking home today. So coming on to the body language thing. Okay, so guys, the first impressions are very powerful, be it a normal meeting, be it a meeting for an interview purpose, or be it a meeting that you are meeting a friend, an online friend for a first time, anything. So the first impressions are very powerful. Okay, so when it comes to interview, it is very very important. So always decide to dress appropriately. It is not that you are not wearing clothes which are ironed. Okay, you are wearing any bad colors, like there are some interview appropriate colors also. It is not that you can wear yellow to an interview or something. Okay, so there are interview appropriate colors. Smile and make eye contact. Entrance, introduction and handshake is very important. Be aware of own movements. Watch body language of interviewer. So there are some basic etiquettes, like when you have to sit for an interview, in front of someone, you have to first take permission, like may I sit. First you salute him or her, like good morning or anything, and then you can ask for the permission, then you sit. And while the interview, even if you're getting anxious, some people bite the nails, some people get very fidgety, like they play with their hair, they move their hands, and or they start moving their legs. This is not good way to have an interview. Okay, so this will portray very bad experience about your about you to the employer. Okay, so watch your body language always. So now I come to the most interesting part and the most important part, like which will be very important when you will be coming on to the interviews. Okay, so these are some typical questions. So these are the questions which you have to prepare. You don't have an option. Okay, so these questions, if you have prepared once, no, so these questions you can apply to every interview. So these interviews, you should get some basic ideas before you are stepping in an interview. You should have some ideas about the answers to these questions. Okay, the first question is, tell me about yourself, or bring me up to date with your CV. So while they will be going through your CV, no, they will always ask you to tell. This is the first question that every interviewer asks. Okay, tell me about yourself. So in 5-6 lines, you should be very crisp and clear manner. You should tell about yourself. Like you can begin with your name, the state from where you belong, what are your educational qualifications, like if you're a graduate or something, and what you're doing right now. So you can come up with this sort of tell me about yourself. You can also put in 1 or 2 lines about what are your interests or what are your hobbies. Okay, now coming on to second, why did you choose that particular degree program? Okay, so for example, if you have done your bachelor's in mass communication, okay, and you are going in a company to give an interview, so they can ask that why did you choose to do mass communication? Okay, why did you choose to do a bachelor's in that? So basically, the on your educational qualification, they can put up the questions. Okay, what experience have you had that is relevant to the post? They can ask your prior experience. If you're experienced candidate, they can ask what is the experience, where have you worked, on what post were you working, and what were your job skills. Okay, what would you consider a major achievements to date? So they can ask you this question, like what in your view, what are your major achievements to date? So here what you can do is you can highlight, for example, if in your organization you have done something for which you have been awarded, or some issue you had found, like which no one had found. Okay, so something which you can highlight, that you did good in your organization, for which you are praised. So you can give that as a major achievement. Even your personal achievement in life you can give, like for example, if you won some contest, like related to educational qualification itself only, like if you won some certificate or something, like some major thing, you took part in some national or district level contest, and you know achieved something there, so you can highlight that thing here. So the question now will come up to about the job also, that what interests you about this job. This I already told you, like they will ask why do you want to join our organization. So there are different ways to put up the same question, like what interests you about this job, why do you want to join us, why do you like this job. So they can ask you in this manner, so you should have some idea about what are the answers you should give. Okay, what do you know about this organization, they will ask. If they will ask to know that if you have done your research about the organization. Okay, what other options are you considering. Okay, so they can sometimes ask, not every time, like if even if you don't get this job, what are the other career options you are considering. Okay, this can be a question. How do you see your career developing in 5 years? This is a very typical question which many interviewers ask. Okay, where do you see yourselves in 5 years. Okay, so you should have some idea, and always try to give the answer to this question in a very clever way. Okay, like, since if I want a job, and in your organization, okay, the person who is sitting in front of me, let us say Mr. X. Okay, I want to land a job in his organization, so I should make him happy. I should give him some, boost up about his organization, right? So what should I mention is that in next 5 years, for example, if I am giving the interview for a clerk position. Okay, but in 5 years obviously I will get some promotion, right? So I can tell to the interviewer that in the next 5 years, Mr. X, I see myself at a at a higher position in your organization, where I will be focusing on this and this in the organization. Okay, so don't give such answers like in 5 years I will be joining Microsoft, or 5 years I'll be joining this or that. Try to stick to the organization in which you are currently giving the interview, because what interviewers feel is that they should hire a person who is loyal to their organization and who stays for long time. Okay, so try to include them in your answers. Okay, and if other questions will be related to your general knowledge. Okay, that what do you think of the government policy and quality. So anything what are like right now, whatever the current affairs or the general affairs are going, so some any question they can ask related to that. So these are the some questions which we cannot prepare. Okay, because we cannot forecast like what they will ask, but this about you and about the job sections you can actually prepare in beforehand. Okay, and now coming on, what creates a bad impression in an interview. Okay, so poor personal appearance, negative attitude, lack of interest and enthusiasm, lack of preparation, poor knowledge of role, failure to give concrete example of skill, overemphasis on money and rewards, lack of career plan. So for rest of the points, I already gave you a glimpse that you should be dressed appropriately, you should show interest, you should show good attitude, you should show that you are prepared, you have done your research. But there is one point which is new here, is overemphasis on money or rewards. Okay, so see, they will what will be the motive of the interviewer is that they have to grill you. Okay, they have to put you in all the worst possible situation, because they want the best candidate, to be very frank. Okay, so they will ask you questions related to money, or like what is the salary expectation or something. So don't put over emphasis on money. Obviously they also know that you will be joining the organization for money only, like money aspect is one major aspect while you're joining an organization, but never give an impression to the interviewer that you are just joining for the money. For example, they can put you some sort of question that, let us say there is an organization A and there is an organization B. So the organization A has good work culture but has less money, but the organization B has great amount of money, but the organization B has nothing to learn and has a bad work culture. Okay, so then they will ask you to choose. So what some people do the mistake, they will choose the second one because it is offering lots of money, but that is not how one should go forward for their career, because the second organization has a bad working culture, so ultimately it will harm your career, right? So you should go with the first organization then. So these type of questions they can ask. Okay, So coming on to the other types of interviews. So apart from the basic interviews which I told you, one second guys. Okay. So telephone interviews are there. So telephone interviews, like you already know, the virtual, like it can be telephonic or it can be on Skype or something right now. How is it taking place? Skype, Teams, or Google Meet or something. Okay. So whatever the interviews is, if they are not if they're not they have not asked you for switching on their cameras. See, on Google Meets and Teams it will be a camera based interview, okay? But if it's a telephonic interview, they can actually not see you, so you can keep a pen and paper at hand, okay? Even in virtual interviews also, even if on Skype, you can keep a pen and paper at hand so that you can note some points, okay? There is no problem in that. You can ask from the interviewer if you can note the points, and then you can note the points, okay? So for these virtual interviews, what you can do for preparation is that you can practice on phone. You can try to record your answers. You can stand in front of mirror, or you can record your voice on mobile and see how you are speaking. You should not speak in a plain manner. A plain manner is known as monotone. Okay, so what is a monotone is like, see, when a person is speaking, no, he or she speaks in higher pitch and lower pitch. For example, right now I'm speaking, so if I want to put an emphasis on a point, I will speak that in a loud way, like I just spoke in a loud manner, right? But if I don't want to use or put an emphasis, I will speak in a normal casual way, okay? Like right now I'm speaking, okay? So sometimes you have to put emphasis on certain points, so try to make it a part of your speech, okay? Don't speak in monotone, like every word you're speaking in the same manner. This disinterests the interviewer, okay? So try to avoid monotones and be yourself. Don't try to fake or something which you are not, and don't try to fake your work experience or something, because those interviewers are very experienced, okay? They will anyway get to know. So just be yourself. So other types of interviews, rotating interview is there, where you will have interview one with first person, and then you will have interview with the second person, and there can be 3 to 4 people, okay? That is a rotating interview. A group interview is where 8 to 10 candidates or 6 to 8 candidates are sitting, and it is a group discussion sort of thing, and the panel can discuss with one person at the time, or even can discuss with all the person at the same time, okay? So the panel interview is where there is more than one person who is taking your interview. There can be 2 to 5 interviewers, and there can be as many as 13. Okay. So there the panel can also ask you to give a presentation, or they will judge you on the basis of how much you are making eye contact with the interviewer. On certain criteria like that, they will test you. Okay. So now coming on to the dresses, I told you about like the dressing sense, okay? Like it is very, it makes or breaks your first impression, like how you are dressed, okay? So I will give you some tips both for men and women, like what should you wear, okay? So tips regarding men attire, if possible, wear a suit to the interview, okay? It is not, see, it depends on the climate, depends on the weather, it depends on the city in which you're living. If you're living in a hot city where it is very humid, like Kolkata or North Delhi or something like that, where in summers it is too hot, so you can skip to wear a suit. But even if you're wearing a shirt, the belts and shoes should be always of the same color. Make it a point. You can also wear a tie that matches with your shirt, okay? But avoid the tie that is with very elaborate pattern or too many colors, like you are wearing a shirt of a light pink color but you are wearing a tie of a green color, okay? That will clash. And also on tie there should be not many prints or something, like some horses are there or some animals are made on tie. There are many kinds of ties that are available in market right now, but make it a point that it is not too funky. Try to keep it formal. And for men, a wedding ring, if they're married, and or watch is generally the only jewelry that they should be wearing, okay? They should not be wearing any like big locket or pendant which is visible, or some earrings. Some people have their ears pierced, right? Some men. So try to not wear anything apart from a wedding ring or watch. Head to toe, hair should be well groomed and shoes should be polished. So see, when you look at a person, no, when an interviewer looks at a person, first he looks at your face, and then he looks first at your shoes, and then he will look at your dressing sense, okay? So your hair should be very well groomed. Your hairs should not be too long, okay? And they should be well cut, and your shoes should be well polished, okay? You should be wearing a formal shoes always with a formal attire, and they should be very well polished. Try to keep it in basic neutral tones only, like black or brown shoes. So, coming on to the do's and don'ts, no earrings. Men should not wear earrings to the interviews. Silk necktie with conservative pattern. Try to keep a necktie in silk sort of material, and the pattern should be, not very funky. It should be formal. Shirt cuffs can or cannot be there. That is not mandatory. You can wear a two-piece suit, and you can also skip wearing a two-piece suit depending on the weather climate condition. Dark shoes and socks. Always try to wear dark shoes and socks, okay? So blue and brown and black are the only shoes which you can wear, and socks you can decide on the basis of shoes which you wear, but try to keep it dark. Facial hair should be neat and trimmed. Even if you are keeping a mustache, a beard, hair, everything should be neat and trimmed, okay? Avoid distracting or busy patterns in your shirt or in your sweater or in your whatever you are wearing. Don't there should not be many patterns on that, okay? Try to keep it either solid like plain or striped or something like that, not very very graphic. No rolled up pants. You should not roll up your pants like this person has did. This is not a good way, okay? And don't forget to wear your socks. Like right now, what is in fashion is men are not wearing their socks, but that should be for a casual thing. For a formal thing, always wear socks, okay? Coming on to the women, jewelry should be in moderation. Like you can wear jewelry, you can wear, for example, a simple chain or a pendant or a mangal sutra. You can wear earrings, or you can wear a ring, but try to keep it very simple, okay? Not that many very big huge earrings you are wearing that draw the attention from your face, okay? Don't try that. You can wear a two-piece suit. If you are wearing a skirt, keep it to knee length, don't keep it shorter than that. And if you are wearing socks, keep it to a skin color or something. And shoes should be dark for women also, okay? And women can also wear suits. If it is in Indian based interview, you can also wear suits, you can wear skirts, you can wear dresses also, but try to keep it the conservative length, okay? Not too short dresses, okay? Necklace too large or distracting, don't wear it ever. No bright colors or patterns. These yellows, dark pinks, very neon colors, they look very jarring on an interview, okay? So wear solid colors like black, blue, gray, white, beige. Keep the color palette very simple. Sky blues, pinks, colors like that. Capris, never wear capris. Not for men, not for women, okay? These look very casual. Don't wear capris or shorts. These are appropriate only for beaches or only for going out, not for the interviews. No open toed shoes. As you see here, the toes are open. Sometimes our nails are not, sometimes nail polish is not applied, or the nails are not trimmed, or proper pedicure is not done, so that doesn't look good. So you can opt for covered shoes so that it looks better. So now coming on to the starting the interview, be sure to arrive 10 to 15 minutes prior to the interview. Greet the interview with a firm handshake. Maintain good eye contact and posture. Okay. Make sure you are energetic and enthusiastic. Speak clearly and articulate. Okay. So, guys, be sure that you have arrived 10 to minutes prior to the starting of the interview, and you greet the interviewer with a handshake, okay? Maintain good eye contact, show that you're confident, show that you're energetic and enthusiastic. Don't speak in a manner that you didn't even had your breakfast in the morning, like in a very lazy way or in a very sleepy way, okay? And speak clearly and articulately. If the interviewer is asking you something, even if you don't know the answer, just honestly say that I don't know the answer to this question. Can we move on to the next question? Speak clearly and articulately, okay? Coming on to the standard interview questions, I already told you what are the standard questions. Tell me about yourself. What is your greatest strength, greatest weakness? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why should we hire you? Stuff like that. Now, coming on to this strength, things to you all must be knowing, okay? So the basic problem we face is while answering what is your greatest weakness, okay? So I'll give you a clever technique to handle this question. If you ask me 6 years back, even I didn't know the answer to this question. Now that I've been working 5 years in an organization, that I have been taking interviews, so I know the answer to this question, okay? So when the trick while you are answering the greatest weakness question is that you should put your weakness also in such a manner that it appears as a strength. See, when someone is hiring you, they don't want to hire a person who is a weak candidate, right? So then the question which will arise in your mind is, then how will you answer to this weakness question? Okay, so for example, see, for example, if someone asks me this question, how will I answer is that, um, I will answer in it in such a way that my weakness also appears to be my strength. I'll give an example so that it is more clear. Okay, for example, if someone asks me, Yavnika, what is your greatest weakness? So I'll give the answer is that sometimes I get stuck so much in a work that sometimes I stuck so much in helping someone from my team that once or twice my deadlines have been missed. Okay, so see, what happens here is that I am giving 2 points here. Okay, that my deadlines have been missed only once or twice, so it doesn't give the impression that every time I'm not meeting my deadlines. Okay, and the first thing that I have been helping someone from my team, so I'm a helpful person, so that's why my deadline got missed. So in this way I've highlighted my strength also, that I'm a team player, I am a helpful person in general, and I complete my activities on deadlines, I meet my deadlines. Okay, but just because once or twice I was working helping someone, so that's why. Or you can give your weakness like, you're too much into perfection, so then that leads you to once or twice you missed your deadline, so then that will also give the interviewer an idea that you want your work to be perfect. Okay, so that also appears your strength. I think I got my point clear, right, guys? This is a very important question, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so the 5 most important factors interview considered when hiring. So here in percentage it is given the ratio, like in the part which the interviewer will focus on and how much it will affect. Okay, so the work experience, where have you worked, what profile have you worked, that will drive 36% of the employer's decision. First impression of the candidate will drive 24% of his or her decision if they want to hire you or not. Your education will describe 12% of your the decision of the interviewer. The professional qualifications will decide 10%, and the references. Sometimes they ask for references also. Okay, so that will drive again 9% of your the decision of the interviewer. So if they ask you to ask some questions, well, these are some typical questions which you can ask. What are your expectations of the employees in your company? What are the strengths and weaknesses of your organization? Describe a typical day on the job in this position. In this part of the interview, avoid asking questions about salary and benefit. Like, for example, if the employer asks you to ask a question, don't ask what are the salary you can provide, what are the benefits you can give. Don't ask these type of questions. Okay, so refrain from asking such type of questions. So the last part of the interview is about the graceful exits. Okay, so you can speak about, like, thank you for taking your time, I appreciate it, I will be looking forward to hearing from you. You can use such type of lines, and you can exit gracefully from the interview. And you can also say at the end of the interview that I will be happy to have feedback from you. So you can give me any sort of feedback or something. So they sometimes they also give you feedbacks. So you can also say that. So this was pretty much about the presentation, guys.